Well, here's the thing. We know Mater Dei is good, and they just keep getting better. This past weekend, beating Orange Lutheran 55-16. Meaning in the first 5 games of the season, the Monarchs have now outscored their opponents a whopping 249-54. On Friday, they will take on 5-2 Santa Margarita Catholic. So taking a look at the latest rankings from our good friends at MaxPreps, no movement in the top 5. IMG Academy still number 2 at 5-0. Now they've been idle the past couple weeks, but they return to action this Friday. We're going to talk about that. And the only undefeated team in the top 5, St. John Bosco, that lone loss coming to Mater Dei a couple weeks ago, but they continue to be dominant since then. Let's welcome the best of the best at MaxPreps, Director of Programming Steve Montoya, National Football Editor Zack Poff. Guys, we have not talked about IMG Academy here in a minute, but that's because they were off returning to action this Friday against St. Thomas More. Now, Zack, IMG Academy is number 2. Mater Dei has been holding on to that number 1 spot. It doesn't look like they're going to give it up. So what are the chances of IMG Academy repeating as MaxPreps national champs?
Now, when it comes to talent, IMG stacks up with anybody, but at the end of the year, they don't play in the playoffs, and that could potentially come back to hurt IMG Academy, because you're going to look at a Mater Dei who's number 1, and then you even got Austin Westlake at number 3. They're going to go through a 14, 15 game season, and going through that playoff, winning a state title, that's going to hold a lot at the end of the season compared to when IMG Academy will just be watching. And when you stack resumes at the end of the season, I don't think IMGs will stack up with the likes of a Mater Dei or an Austin Westlake, or even if, number 8 Servite goes undefeated. So that could come back to hurt them. So IMG would need some help if they want to repeat as national champs. But, you just look at what the Ascenders are doing this year. They've been absolutely dominant. They're winning games by, around 40 points per game. And when you go talent for talent, IMG is probably the most talented team in the country. You got Katron Allen in the backfield. He was on our MaxPreps Player of the Year watch list. Offensive line's as good as anybody's in the country, led by Tyler Booker. The defense is loaded with 5 stars. I love Malik Bryan, a 2023 defensive end / outside linebacker. Jihad Campbell, the secondary's loaded. So, when you compare them talent for talent, they're probably the most talented team in the country. But when you look at resumes at the end of the season, I don't know if IMG's is going to stack up the likes of Mater Dei. They got East St. Louis in a couple of weeks. That's a big game. Then the end of the season, they got St. Francis Academy. So they would need a couple of big statements in those games. But they're not going to jump ahead of Mater Dei if Mater Dei is undefeated.
Steve, let's go from number 2 to number 3. Austin Westlake handing Bowie its first loss of the season. But in the process, 5-star quarterback Cade Klubnik, not Klubnik, Klubnik, hurts his shoulder. This is a kid who's a Clemson commit as of now. But what can you tell us about the injury and how it's going to impact this team?
Yeah, I mean, when you watch it, you go back and you look at what happened, you see him getting carted off or in the golf cart getting taken away with his shoulder all wrapped up. You're like, oh, man, this is going to be scary. He could be out for the season. But fortunately, they got good news that it could just be a couple weeks. It was his non-throwing shoulder that he separated. He actually it looked like the play he got hurt on. He went out and actually caught a pass and made some nice moves and got tackled and landed on his shoulder a little bit. But according to the coach and some of the reports out there, he will be back even maybe by the last regular season game and definitely into the playoffs. But Austin Westlake's going to be fine in the meantime. They're just stacked. They've outscored their opponents 301-54 and have won 30 games in a row dating back to 2019. Phenomenal defense. Christian Edgar, hey, it's your time. It's your time to step up now. You're the backup quarterback. You get a chance. Good thing is Christian he's been in games because Austin Westlake has been up so much that he's gotten some snaps. So I think Austin Westlake will be fine. I believe their win streak will continue and they will get their 5-star back just in time to make another run at a state title.
Yeah, anytime you see that card, you think immediately the worst. So hearing just a couple weeks is great news there for Austin Westlake. All right, Zach, number 6, Bergen Catholic has a big matchup Saturday against St. Joseph Regional. What do we need to know about this game?
Well, first of all, it's, you can throw the records out the book when these two teams play, but, they're both playing well. St. Joseph Regional had a couple of L's early in the season, but they got a nice win last week against St. Peter's Prep. So they're 4-2 now on the year. Bergen Catholic's been smoking folks this year. They posted 3 consecutive shutouts. They're still undefeated, and they're winning by a lot each Friday or Saturday. And, you just turn on the tape of Bergen Catholic. They got dudes everywhere, especially in the secondary. You got 2022 USC commit Jaden Gould. You got Jaden Bellamy, a Notre Dame bound corner. Defensive line's loaded. You got Sadir Mitchell, DJ Samuels. They're coming after the quarterback, hungry every weekend. And then on offense, you got Stephen Angeli, a Notre Dame-bound quarterback. And then you got one of the most underrated cats in the backfield, and Ryan Butler. He's a Princeton commit. But you turn on the tape, and this dude balls out every single weekend. He's fun to watch. And Princeton's getting a big time still on that, dude. So this is going to be a fun game on Saturday. It's a rivalry game. Since 2004, Bergen's beat them 10 out of 18 times, so it's a very competitive series. And in last year's matchup, Audric Estime almost led St. Joseph Regional to the upset win, but Bergen held on for a 24-21 win. And usually I don't get picks till Friday, Amanda, but I will tell you this, I got Bergen Catholic by a couple of touchdowns on Saturday.
That's good. That's going to make them feel better because we practiced me saying Bergen and not Bergen, and I still messed it up. So there you go. You're getting their pick. So that's the good news there. All right, Steve, your game of the week, number 9, Center Grove versus Cathedral. When it comes to these two teams, last time they played, it came down to the last 14 seconds with Center Grove pulling out the win there. Is it going to be that close this weekend?
I mean, if you just look on at the past history between these two teams playing, it would be hard to say this isn't going to be a close game because for the most part, it's always within 7 points. And both teams are 8-0, and Cathedral's ranked 34 in the country, so they're right on the cusp of the top 25 teams. So this is a phenomenal matchup, and no doubt our game of the week. I'm looking at the defenses here. You're going to see the film right here of Center Grove's defense. They're going to get a lot of love for sure, but I'm also watching the quarterbacks. Tennessee commit Taven Jackson. He's going up against a sophomore on the other side of the ball, and Danny O'Neill, the sophomore class of 2024. Can't believe we're already there, but 2024, he's already thrown 22 TDs. He's rushed for another 4. So good quarterback matchup here, good defensive matchup. This is going to be a really, really good game in the state of Indiana.
You blew my mind. 2024. We keep doing these commits for 2023, and I feel like that's far away. 2024, I am not prepared for that. Zach, one new team to the top 25 that is now number 25, Miami Central. So do they have staying power to stay in the top 25?
I mean, you're trying to be funny there. I respect it. But, hey, they started the year, played St. John Bosco on the road in SoCal. St. John Bosco won by a few scores. But then they played Bishop Gorman a couple weeks later. Bishop Gorman's currently ranked number 18. And they were a field goal away that went off the crossbar from beating Bishop Gorman. And since then, they lost their first 2 games in over 15-plus years. And they have taken it out on the rest of their opponents down the road. They're winning by over 40 points per game since then. They had a nice win against Miami Northwestern, and Miami Central is known for producing D1 talent and guys playing on Sundays, and they got a few players that are going to be playing on Sundays on this squad too. So Miami Central, they're playing really well now. They had a tough schedule to start the year, but they're back in the top 25 for the second time this season now.
Zack Poff, Steve Montoya, thank you guys so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Of course, if you want to hear more from our good friends, the latest rankings there, Zach writes up that article. He has little blips about every single team, everything you need to know about every team, their schedules, their rosters, highlights, stats, and more.